All right, in this video, we're going to look at how teachers can communicate with students in Schoology. So there's a couple different ways to do this, so we'll explore a few different areas. So the first thing that you can do is to allow comments on assignments. So this is a way, assignments or updates. So this is a way that your students can engage with not only you, but the rest of your class, and you can be seeing, are there common things that are coming up? Are students having the same questions over and over? Are my directions really well written? Or just to address kind of the day-to-day things that you would normally do in a class just from having students around you all the time. So to do that, we're going to first look at course options and go to edit privacy and course settings just to make sure we have some different settings enabled. So if I go over to moderate, so moderate's going to be where, depending on the grade level and the students that you're working with, maybe you want to enable moderation, but for now, I'm going to work with my students and talk about what is appropriate to post and comment. So, and then if I need to, I can come in and enable moderation, but for now, I'm going to assume that I can do some pre-work with my students so that this is a kind of a safe place for people to be commenting and engaging in, and then I don't have to go in and approve every single comment that comes through on a daily basis. So that's just kind of one thing to check. And then I'm going to go back into my sandbox course where I was, and in order to look at discussions or just comments for students, so in my updates, we can see that if I'm updating like on a daily basis or a weekly basis, just giving those kids that feedback right away on here's what the expectations are, here's what I want you to be working on. Students can comment and like, and this can turn into a threaded discussion. So maybe a student says, it's not clear what you want me to be doing. I can comment back and give some guided directions right here in the update space. But kids could also be giving each other feedback and just kind of supporting each other in that way. So that's one way that a teacher can communicate with students. The other quick way is within the materials post, if I assign something, so let's just add an assignment. At the very bottom of this kind of pop-up window that comes up, one of the options towards the far right is to enable comments. So right now it's on, it's turned on. If I click that again, comments are disabled. So again, I want to kind of open it up for this to be a place for students to have those discussions or ask me questions kind of as they're working. So I'm going to turn that on. And then if I'll show you what this looks like from the student side. So I'm going to pop over to a different tab. So this is one of the modules that I showed you in one of the earlier videos. But on here, so my teacher has their description here, and then comments. As a student, I could see and make my own comments on what other students are saying. So maybe a student has a question about what it is that the process is supposed to be or what they're supposed to do. If they ask that here, I could go in and like another student's comment, or I could add my own. So maybe as a student, I can be giving feedback. Again, you'd want to have the discussion with your class on kind of what's appropriate in terms of public comments in an LMS space. But it's just a nice way for students to give feedback. And then as the teacher, you can go in and address those comments as they come in. And then the third way to highlight is that as students are making submissions, so on the far right side, so we looked at this a little bit, but let's just open revision 2, I believe. Yeah, so this one has some good examples. So in here, the teacher and the student can really engage in a back and forth about the work that's happening. So thinking about kind of those 3 big questions of if I'm giving feedback to a student, where am I going? How am I going, and where to next? So we can see that this is the whole thread for all of the submissions. So I submitted revision 1, I submitted revision 2, and then my teacher gave me some feedback of got it. And then in here, he actually gave me some feedback in a video or a screencast. So how he did that was, as a teacher, I could go in and make a video of, I could be recording my screen, telling a student, okay, here's what I see, here's some of my questions, you know, how is this working? So you could kind of be having those conversations along the way. You can copy that link to whatever your video is, however you've made it, whether it's Screencastify, Screencast-O-Matic, maybe it's something else. Remember that if you have the enterprise account, there's some recording tools in Schoology. And then in the comments, I can just paste that link, and if I post it, it now gets added to this list of conversation. So I can add text, or I can add links to videos or even other resources. So giving that constant feedback to students as they're resubmitting assignments for you and showing you what they're working on is just another great way to give that continual feedback. Another thing that you may see that you're not going to see on my screen, it's just the type of Schoology I have, but this little editing box, for some of you, you'll see some different options at the top. So right now I have a pan and a select text. Some of you might actually have some editing tools built right into your Schoology. So on here, because this is a document that let's see if I can. All right, so this is a PowerPoint. So for some of you, if I opened up this PowerPoint within my Schoology, or on the teacher side, if you open up a student's work, you might have some options up here, so something to explore, that you could edit right on this document with the student. So another way that you could be giving that continual feedback, just on, here's what I want you to work on next. Have you thought about this? You know, did you make sure you answer all of the questions or address all of the prompts? Whatever it might be, you could give them right here inside their work as well. So the one last thing I'll highlight really quick is that within the assignments app, if you're using the Google Drive or the OneDrive assignment integration, and you attach something like a template, which I've talked about in some of my other videos, even if it's just a blank template, like a Word document, and it's going to make a copy for each student, you can see it the whole time that that student's working on it. So instead of waiting until they submit the assignment to see what they're working on, if you have them work on something that you've provided for them through one of these integrations, you can be giving them that constant feedback even before they say they're done with their work. So especially now that we're not in person, we can't just walk by their desk and kind of see what they're working on. This app integration is a nice way to give them that feedback while they're actually engaging in the work before they've said, I'm done and I'm finished. So a couple different ways to think about feedback for students and communication between you and your students. So that's just a couple ways, again, like most things in our LMS systems, Schoology in particular, lots of different ways. And I bet you have found other ways to communicate with your students, and we'd love to hear about them.